Hey everyone, Mo here, and today I'm bringing you guys another episode of Meta Monday! Except today's gonna be a little bit different and a little bit shorter, because the meta really hasn't changed too much in the last week. And then I found out that this weekend's Runeterra Open really big tournament is actually Singleton. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly go through the top 8 most played decks here on ladder, so you know what to expect whenever you go to play ladder and how to rank up. I'll go through quickly just the 3 highest win rate decks on ladder right now, show you guys like what's working for you, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some Singleton decks that you can prepare and practice for this weekend, or for this week leading up to this weekend. And of course on my Sweaty Thursday I'll post another set of top rated Singleton decks. But before we get into this, if you're interested in competitive LoR or have a friend or someone else who's gonna want to be interested in competitive LoR when the new season drops at the end of this month, this is the place to be. So consider subscribing, telling them your friends to come and subscribe and come check out the channel. We're helping people every day here, trying to get them to the higher ranks or help them achieve their goals in Legend of Runeterra, whether that's to be a competitive tournament player or just simply hit, gold or whatever their ranked goal is for the game. So the great place to be, number one place for competitive LoR is the Discord. Join the Discord. The Discord link will be down in the description below, as well as my Twitch channel, because I'll stream all my tournament runs. I stream competitive entertainment content on there all the time. I try to do it at least like once to twice a week. I would love to do it more, but at the current moment, it's better time to just like focus on time doing YouTube videos and stuff like that. So that's it for the intro. Let's get into it. So we're just going to quickly go over the top 8 because I don't think these have changed really at all. So number 1, Jace Lux still a very good solid mid-range deck. Here are your matchup tables. It's still very bad to aggro. You see here it's bad to pirates. It's bad to orange Jax because it's just bigger than it. But then it's like aggro. Has some like hard control. This is probably just like another aggro deck actually with Iceborne Legacy. So aggro. Yeah, a lot of aggro. And what's it good into? It's good into all this like keg control. You want to be like control stuff. So control. So beats control, loses to this super hyper aggro. Garen, Elite, Mono Elite, have a YouTube video coming out on this deck actually in a couple of days. Just about the same thing. It beats, these control decks. It beats aggro decks really hard. But, it beats the mid-range decks. It beats the aggro decks really hard. But it struggles with a lot of the control decks. So, like, your worst matchups over here is, like, Jace Heimer, Trundle Elise. This is kind of, like, mid-rangey. So, it looks like it is... Here we go. Here are the SI decks. So, the SI deck should beat it. So, here are the SI decks. It looks like it's also struggling with, the, like, mid-range decks or combo decks that are kind of just, like, better mid-range decks than it, that have better mid-range tools, like Frostbite tools, the barrier tools, the just like having extremely large unit tools, this like OTK combo type thing, because they don't really run too much interaction with that specifically. So it'd be hard to deal with, but it does like pretty much smoke aggro every time. Number 3, Annie Jin. Annie Jin has shot up in popularity and is shot up in win rate. So this thing has gone up 10 spots as far as play rate. And it's really good. I told you guys last weekend, I told you if you wanted to play in tournaments this weekend to play Annie Jin. This is why. Annie Jin is very good against everything in the top of the meta. It's good against Kaisa Evelyn. It's good against Jax Ornn, which is another like counter meta thing. It's bad into like specifically elites, like the Mono Demacia elites you see here. But it's good into Rise because you're going to be too aggressive for it. And you're good into like Jace Lux. So yeah, this deck is just like insanely strong overall. Look at all these winning matchups, man. Look at all these winning matchups, like 57% to Jace Lux. So you beat basically every popular deck that isn't elites. And yeah, like you're going to beat this, you're beating this deck, you're beating this deck, you're beating this deck, you're beating this deck. Like, you are big. Actually, I think you're beating Zixtalia, but I'm not 100% sure. You should be smoking this deck. Oh, it's not on here. It's not on here. Maybe it is. I'm just not seeing it. Oh, no. Right here, you're losing. Okay, so you lose to like 2 out of the top 8 most played decks. So I'd call that a pretty big win, in my opinion. So, yeah, Annie Jin, super sleeper, should have been playing it. I told you guys about it last week. If you watch my Meta Monday videos every week, you would have known about it. You would have been on the train. Kaisa Evelyn, wow, deck win rate's dropping every single day. Yeah, I think this deck's just not good. I think it's not good. I think it's very simple. I think people getting these win rates on 20 matches is like definitely not bad, but you see here it loses to like so much. Like you beat this random control piles and you beat the like random keg stuff, but against all the like other good decks, like, oh, you're losing to elites, that's crazy. Oh, you're losing to Kaleona, that's crazy. You're still losing to Jax Ornn, that's crazy. You're losing to Annie Jin, that's crazy. Like, you're beating the Ziggs Talia decks, that's cool. You're beating like all the control decks, that's cool. you're losing, or sorry, you're beating like Jace Lux somehow. It's pretty even there, but you're still beating it. But for the most part, you're still just losing to all the good decks. Like, you're losing to all the good decks that aren't control decks. So yeah, not really sure about this deck still. I've never had high hopes for it, but you know, maybe it'll come up. Who knows? Rise is still here, number 5. Win rate still sub 50%. I think I checked on it the other day and it finally hit a 50% win rate. I think like Thursday or something, but it's back to being sub 50%. Rise is Rise, extremely polarizing matchups. You see here is 20% win rate, 25% win rate, 27% win rate, 28% win rate, 28% win rate. Like, this thing has, oh my goodness, it has 8 matches that are 30% win rate or less. Like, that's not good. But in the same hand, you have 6-7 matchups that are, you know, 70% or better. So extremely polarizing deck. It's very much just like a slot machine coin flip. If you want to go into ranked and coin flip your matchup every single game and just say like, okay, if it lands on heads, you know, if you get a good matchup, you're just going to gain LP. This is the deck to do that with. And then 7 and 8, Jaceheimer is very falling off in play rate, but it's still fairly good. You beat Annie Jin just because of how much early game blockers you can have, as well as you can kind of stall it a little bit. You have a little bit of life gain, depends on which version. If you're playing the like quietest version, you're very happy. If you're playing like quietest Vile Feasts and stuff, yeah, the Adaptatron is like fairly good because a 1-mana 1/3 stops their like 2/1s on turn 1. But yeah, it's about all it has going for. And then number 8 is Ziggs Talia. Ziggs or win rate's dropped a tiny bit, but his play rate has come up. Basically just beat all the mid-range decks, it's just a degenerate combo deck. And it really just comes down to like, can your opponent stop you from comboing off? If the answer is no, like if they just don't have the tools for that in their deck, then they're going to lose. So that's why you have these people with like many matchups still holding the 70%. Because it is it's kind of like Rise, where it's like if your opponent just can't stop you, you win the game. But also you just play more tools than Rise. You can have more game into like more agency into different decks, like you see here. So like its lowest win rate matchup is like 35%. It only has 3 matchups that are sub 40% for it, whereas Rise had like 7 or 8 or whatever it was that were like 30% matchups. So it's similar to Rise in the sense of the matchups can be really good for it, but there are very few matchups that are just like, oh, unwinnable type thing, which makes it really good. All right, so that's it for the most played. So now we'll look at the top 3 highest win rate decks. Oh, surprise, surprise, it's Annie Jen, it's Pirates. Who could have told you to play aggro? I'm just gonna start having in another tab, I'm gonna have my Meta Monday from the previous week where I'm telling you guys to play aggro and telling you guys that you should, like, what decks you should be playing for like tournaments and for ladder and stuff like that, because last week I told you guys aggro is really good and it's really underplayed and it beats like just about everything at the top, and lo and behold, now aggro is like insane. I wouldn't be surprised if the meta shifted to make sure that they could beat aggro again and you guys missed out on your chance. But until that happens, make sure to do that. So this is your Meta Monday from Mo telling you what to play. So yeah, aggro, very good, very solid, beats a lot of stuff that's being played right now. And then on top of that, Varus Pantheon has kind of always been extremely good, and just kind of been underplayed. But now that it's beating Ziggs Talia, you're beating a lot of the most played decks. You're losing to like mono elites, but you're gonna still beat every single control deck, including Jace Lux, including Rise. Rise is 50-50, but I'm pretty sure this deck is pretty favored into Rise with your spell shields and with your aggression. So and also you get to play all the spell shields. So it's very solid. And then you can put like Scout on your spell shield unit, stuff like that. So you're going to beat every control deck out there. You're beating a lot of the combo decks. You're beating a lot of the aggro decks. Like, look at this. It's beating Fearsomes. It's beating Plunder. It's beating Zed Hecarim. It's beating Annie Jin. Like, or is it beating Annie Jin? I think it's beating Annie Jin. Let's see. No, it's losing Annie Jin, sorry. But it's beating it's beating the unit-based aggro decks. Annie Jin's kind of different because it's more burn, but all the unit-based aggro decks, like the Plunder, the Fearsomes, stuff like that, like the Kale Leonas, like you're pretty good into those decks. So this is definitely a deck if you like mid-range decks. If you like mid-range decks, but you don't want to play the stock standard, like, oh, me play unit on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like Elise is, Varus Pantheon is very good for you, and as well as you will beat some of the other mid-range decks, just not, elites because they just go too big. But all the other stuff you'll be pretty good into. So that's it for the regular decks. So let's quickly just go over some Singleton decks to get you guys prepared for and get you guys ready to play for this weekend. and practice, because again, this weekend's Runeterra Open is the first and hopefully probably the last Runeterra Open that's actually going to be Singleton format. So yeah, if you want to play in the big Runeterra Open and practice and get a feel for, you know, what it feels like to play in a long seasonal, or what a long tournament, and the like how the rounds kind of work this weekend, then here are some Singleton lineups for you. So the first one is going to be the Kim. So he's got second place, runner up at a seasonal championship, lost to Trevo, I believe. So he went 6-1 with this, and he said his one loss was a misplay. It's just Demacia Targon, very, very solid with some Freljord. So you get to use some of the like Freljord tools here, use some of the big Freljord stuff, but it's mostly just very honest, good mid-range decks. Likes to take control of the deck. You just play big statted units, you get to play weapons, you have really, really good combat tricks, and you like I said, good weapons. So deck seems solid. Should have gone 6-0, but he said he punted and went 6-1. Next up is Lucia's just aggro. I mean, aggro is very solid. A lot of Singleton decks are going to be very bad. They're going to be built very poorly. So what aggro does best as an archetype is punish bad draws or punish bad decks. And so if a lot of these Singleton decks that just don't draw well, and you just open with like 6 1-drops because your deck plays a decent amount of 1-drops here, if you just open with like 3 1-drops and on turn 2 you're swinging for 9 power, a lot of decks can't come back from that. So like this deck plays a decent amount of 1-drops, right? It plays like a 1 mana 2/2, 1 mana 1/1s, and a 1 mana 2/1, another 1 mana 2/1 here. But they only play really like 3 1 mana 2/1s that can effectively block. And then for their 2-drops, they have a couple 2-drops here that are pretty decent. But if they like, again, it's Singleton, so you're only getting like 1 copy. So if you don't get like Fleet Feather Tracker, Steadfast, like if you don't get a 1-drop and you're just playing 1 2-drop, and let's say at best it's like Petricite Broadwing, then you're still taking like 6-7 damage, depending on what the opponent's like 1-drops openers are, and you're looking like you're not going to be doing too great for the rest of the game. So aggro, always very solid. The next is going to be another like pseudo aggro type deck. It's going to be aggro, it's going to be Noxus, Freljord, and then Bilgewater. So it's playing Freljord because it's playing a lot of the plunder units. So you have like the Freljord, Bilgewater plunder units because you have like Jagged Butcher. You have the where is it? I thought there was another one in here. But you're playing Spirits Unleashed, that's why you're in Freljord also, which is really, really good. And then you have, of course, the Plunder Champions with Gang playing Sejuani. You have Swain as good top end because you do play a lot of outside of combat damage, like, again, Crusty Codger, Crimson Pigeon, Flock, Make It Rain, Entreat, or not Entreat, where's it at? Death's Hand, like Boxtopus. So you have a lot of ways to level up this Swain fairly quickly and just have this overwhelm, fearsome, Swain doing really good Swain things. Yeah, just another case of like a deck that can be aggro, but also go into mid-range, go into this late game gameplay with these really big top end like boats and big champions. Second to last we're going to be talking about is, oh, surprise, surprise, a control deck actually. So this deck, at first glance, you can think, oh, it's like aggro. It's playing Noxus, Vandal City, which is typically control, but it is playing a decent amount of Noxus Vandal City, which can be aggro or control. But it is playing the Nora, it is playing some of the Swain package, it is playing all of the like kill spells, it's playing a Broadmain. For the most part, this deck looks very solid. So you don't have any 1-drops, but you play House Spider, which is like a 2-for-1 2-drop, Junk Construct, which is good on turn 2, Solari's Stunhawk if they develop into you turn 2 to attack you. Like, let's say they do open with triple 1-drop. So they play a 1-drop on 1, and then turn 2 they play another one. You just Stunhawk, and now they're only really like 2 wide, so you block one and you're only taking like 2 to 3 damage on turn 2, which is very good. You also have this one does the same thing, this one does the same thing. Like, you play a bunch of stuns here to kind of stall out. You have Aloof Travelers, another stun. And then you can, you also have just like 1 mana deal 1. So if you don't have a 1-drop and they go like, okay, develop another unit into you, you stun hawk it, develop another unit into you, you can just block one, kill the other with like Blade's Edge, Group Shot, Poison Dart, something like that. And then now your opponent just pushes 0 damage on turn 2, even though they played 3 units and you didn't play a 1-drop. So it's like very solid. You have Conservatory for the late game. You have Riptide Rex. Something I've noticed in a lot of these Singleton decks is you want to have a really good way to kind of stall your early game, and then late game just slam out these big bombs so that way you can just really, really take off. And because of that, that's why this deck has seemed to be one of the best. This is from Drizzoth, and he is under the impression, a lot of people are actually under the impression that Pursuit of Perfection is like miles ahead of every other card in this format, and it's like just the best card in this format because your entire deck is just Singleton, so you'll always, you know, level up this Pursuit fairly quickly. On top of that, on top of that, Targon and Ionia Stall is very good because games tend to go fairly long, and it's kind of like sealed format or limited format in other card games where you're playing like less than optimal cards because of you're only getting to play one of, so you have to find filler cards. And a lot of Ionia and Targon cards are really good at being filler in the late game. So you kind of just like stall early, Dirtle, like here, you see he's playing his, you know, triple 1-drops. He also has a Zoe for like value there, a bunch of 2-drops. So he has a bunch of removal spells, ways to like kind of stall out. And then in the late game, when you're just dirtling around, be like, okay, Star Shaping, boom, here's a big unit. Okay, Celestial Trifecta, boom, here's a big unit for no reason. Scatterpot, okay, draw whatever I need. Like, big unit plus refill. And then you're just gonna like eventually stall out enough to where you just slam this Pursuit of Perfection, your opponent can't really do anything about it, and then you're just gonna lose the game because of it, or they're going to lose the game because of it. So this is another deck that I would highly, highly recommend. So all the deck codes for these decks will be down in the description below for if you want to practice them in the gauntlet, practice them in scrims against each other, try and figure out which one works best for your playstyle. I personally would probably just pick this deck if I was playing this weekend or playing, like, practicing. So if you want me to play the Singleton Gauntlet, I wasn't very interested in playing Singleton Arena. Or Singleton Open, I'll be completely honest with you guys. But if you guys want to see me play it, maybe I'll try it out just for some YouTube content, just for some content for you guys. And if I do, this will probably be the deck I'll play. So yeah, so that's gonna be it for this Meta Monday. Like I said, very short. Not much has changed as far as this. And then with this weekend not even being a standard type open, there's not really too much to go into standard wise. So it's just all these Singleton decks for you. So that's what we had. I have a bunch of gameplays and deck guides coming out this week. Let me know what decks you guys want me to put deck guides and gameplays out on, as well as the YouTube shorts. I'm going to put out the like 60-second mini deck guides. I'm going to start doing that again. So if you like those, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. If you want to see any other type of content that I'm not doing or any content I did previously that you really liked, let me know, because I'm always open to feedback, and you guys give me feedback is how I could keep this channel great for you guys. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.